Hi everyone. Let's see. I wanted to go over this zoology project with you. We haven't been in the classroom a lot because we've been out at the museum drawing, which is totally cool. Um, but I wanted to kind of go over this assignment with you a little bit before we get too much further in. I know you're finishing your botanical plates, but I really need you to start thinking about the zoology piece. And I talked to several people, the people that were at the museum. I know not everyone's been to each drawing session, about the illustration for our zoology section. And what I've decided that we're going to do for this is we're going to take, um, I would probably prefer that you stick with a scaled or a feathered animal, but really you can do about anything you want. Um, I want you to do something that's of interest to you. And so I decided I wanted to give you a demo of what I'm thinking for this because what this is going to be, it's going to be half of the exterior of the fish or the animal, and half of the skeletal system of the animal. So I wanted to give you an idea of kind of how I would go about this. There's lots of ways to do it, but how I would go about this if I were going to do this particular assignment. So one thing I did is first I went in and I just did this deep Google search for interesting fish, and I came up with this red lionfish that I thought was just really excessively pretty cool looking. And since I can do an illustration on anything I want, I don't have any boundaries holding me back really, no clients telling me they want a specific type of fish. I thought I would do a cool lionfish. So what I did is I went in and I started doing a little bit of research. Once I decided on the lionfish, I went in and I looked for the lionfish skeleton. And I found a front view and some side views. Let me find the Photoshop of. So I found a front view and a side view of the lionfish, which I thought were really, really cool. And this person right here, I'm going to go check his Etsy. I think it was Etsy site. He sells rearticulated skeletons, which means he cleaned the fish, dried the fish out, cleaned the skeleton. It probably all fell apart, and then he glued it all back together, which is really cool. So that might be neat just to have in the office. But anyhow, that's kind of a digression. Um, so started out with some skeletons, found some reference images that I liked for the skeletons. There's just a whole bunch to choose from. Oh, here he is right here on Facebook. Well, we won't waste our time now going looking at it, but I will definitely go look at it. And then I just decided to do some research on lionfish. And they're kind of interesting. They have a native habitat, which is around Africa, and they're an invasive species around Florida and the southeast of the U.S. So I learned something new about that. This was National Geographic, again, a great site. I did look up Wikipedia. Some professors in different subjects, they frown on Wikipedia. Kind of depends on what the subject is. I know for anatomy, I know one of my anatomy professors heads the anatomy section on Wikipedia, and I know it's accurate because he and his team put a lot of effort into it. I don't know that much about the red lionfish, but one thing that you can always look at too is if you can come down to the references and find out what they used for reference when they were writing this page. So, and they usually have free photos you can download. Usually the photos are free to use. So found out more on there, and then Microsoft login. Let's skip that. I did another fish for some reason. I was looking for more. Let's see, oceana.org. Found some more information. So again, here's National Geographic, Wikipedia, oceana.org, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, great site. So found out a little bit more about them, found out about their invasive. So really just a bunch of background research is going to be super important. I know it's easy to just go find a picture and do a drawing, but really in scientific illustration, research is just such an important part of what you do. Pardon me. So again, research is just a really important part of this. I've gotten a little bit of pushback in class about, wanting photorealistic examples of wanting you to draw in a photorealistic manner. I'm going to argue right now that that is not really the case. The big difference between scientific illustration, natural history illustration, medical illustration, and other types of art is the careful observation and research, and the research, the lead up work that goes into producing a drawing. That like a third of your time is spent just in the research phase, and trying to show all these important details about whatever you're drawing, um, while still presenting it in a really visually appealing manner. So you have to be a good artist, but you have to be a bit of a scientist and a bit of a researcher to go along with it. There have been times when scientific illustrators have observed such details that even the researchers missed it, but bringing an artistic eye to it, they were able to actually find things that the researchers missed that were then added into their papers and to their additional research. So anyhow, just kind of a thing to go along with that. Let me find this other file I wanted to show you. This one, oh, come here, you. This one right here. Talking again about the photorealistic quality of it. And I found this artist, Emily Damstra, natural science illustrator, and she had this whole series on fish. And so when I look at this, a lot of people look at it and they're like, Mandy, that's a very photorealistic drawing of a fish. And I argue with you that it's just not. If this is a tiger barb, that's a photo of a tiger barb. That's a photo of a tiger barb. That's a photo of a tiger barb. That is nothing like a photo. That is almost so much closer to a cartoon than it is to a photorealistic drawing. It's just accurate and very, very clean. Here's another one. This is the purple spotted big eye. These were done quite some time ago. And I think that they said these were, well, the British National History Museum. But I think these were by a Chinese artist. I can't remember exactly. But anyhow, that is more of a, it's beautiful, it's accurate, it pulls out all these fascinating details that you can't get from looking at a single fish. You have to look at lots of different fish to come up with this. And like, what are the important points of each of these fish? And then it all goes together into a single drawing that brings all the important points back into a final drawing. And I had one last, and again, to me, this is almost more of a cartoon than it is a photorealistic illustration. It's perfect. There's beautiful shading, there's beautiful line work, but it's nowhere near a photo. It's just not. This is mummy chog fish. Here's a photo of a male and a female. Here's an artist rendition of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful drawing. And again, I really would argue that this is a lot closer to some kind of almost cartooning. It's definitely illustration. It's just not a photorealistic interpretation of that thing. I'm not looking for photorealism from you people. I'm looking for this is better than photorealism. This is like taking the most important aspects of everything you're looking at and putting it into one drawing. Sometimes, we're you could almost argue that I'm not looking for photorealism, I'm looking for perfection, and maybe that's like, God, Mandy, seriously? But yeah, that's we're looking, and that by perfection, I don't mean like perfection in art, I mean like perfection in the specimen. We're looking for like the highlights, the best of, like, I would have to take 30 pictures of this fish to find all these details possibly. And same with this one. You can take each of these different photos and you find different coloring and slightly different markings, and then you put it together into what is the common denominator of this tiger barb. Anyhow, if you've never had an aquarium, tiger barbs are really cool fish. They have to live together in a colony, and don't put any other fish in with them because they'll kill them. But they're cool fish. I used to have some. Anyhow, that's off the subject. So the lionfish. So I went in here and I've been doing a lot of research on the lionfish the last day or so, and put a couple hours into this, looking at their habitat, where they're native versus where they're invasive, and then going back and reading about that a little bit more. Um, and then this led me to, so looking at those maps led me to this paper on the lionfish, and I clicked on this link to download the full text, and it got me here to ResearchGate. Um, Sometimes when you get onto ResearchGate, you will run into, there's where we are again, you'll run into a bit of a roadblock. In this case, it happened to download the paper for me. So here I was able to get into the paper, and I skimmed some of it. I'm probably going to give it a read through, but again, just to go through and just read all the the research materials that all the work this person did on this fish, which is pretty cool. If you get into something and you're looking for a full article, you get to like ResearchGate and you get a block, you can come back here, and here's the name of the paper. If you go to the CCAD library, you can usually get, even through ResearchGate, you can get this paper. If you can't get it, talk to the librarian. They will find it for you and get you a PDF of the paper. Some of these are through paywalls. You hit a paywall with a lot of research papers. But if you are a student or staff at some kind of college, you can usually get them through the universities. Almost all of them have accounts. So anyhow, let's see, ResearchGate, and that's the paper. So again, that's just kind of an overview of some of the research. Then what I wanted to show you is where I would go next with this. So this was kind of some of my next steps. So I brought these two skeletons in, and I just really thought this front view was really, really cool. So I'm going to hide this guy out for a second. And I went in and I found, let me see, disable the layer mask. I found a front view of this fish. And the skeleton's got his mouth open, and this one it doesn't. That's okay for now. And so I kind of, they don't perfectly line up, but they're pretty close. So I adjusted the opacity, lined them up, and then I went and I threw a layer mask over it. So now I've got half of the angelfish, not the angelfish, lionfish, kind of the exact opposite. Half of the lionfish and half of the skeleton. And then again, it's got his mouth open, so I went and I found another photo of a lionfish, and with its mouth open. Let me zoom in on this, here you can see, and I adjusted the opacity on this one so I could line it up. There's what it looks like. I took the opacity down, got him pretty much lined up, so the eyes were kind of lined up with the eyes on the skeleton. That was pretty close. And then what I did with this one, actually, and I'd undid this, I merged it down, preserved my layer mask, and there, so now I've got kind of a half and half. I probably won't do it that way. I think I'm going to come in here, and I think I keep the part I want to save. Throw another layer mask on here. There we go. So now I've got this one as a layer as well. So if I want, I can back off the opacity if I need to look under there. Or I can just shut it down. So from this would be a really good place to begin a drawing on this. Let me see what else I wanted to show you. If I can find the one. I'd also found another, where'd it go? Well, I'm gonna have to just come in here. Lionfish label diagram. That's what I'd searched for. And I'd come in here and found some various quality of art, but nonetheless, the supraorbital tentacle, which is what I saw in there, which was kind of interesting. And then this is going to be really helpful. So to have this handy so you know what the hell you're looking at. Here's a color version of it. And this is actually a really cool illustration. Let's go take a look at this artist site if it'll take us there. Don't know where we landed. We're at peepsburg.com, dolphin pectoral fin anatomy. So anyhow, somebody must just be studying this. This is a fun illustration. Yeah, this is an illustration too. This is totally an appropriate style of illustration. And again, I would say it is much closer to an illustration, to a cartoon, than it is to a photorealistic rendering of this fish. So that's a great reference. Let's save that. I'm just going to save it in my downloads. Just to keep for future use. And then this is about the same. I'm probably going to save this. And then I would just go throw these all in a folder together so I have my lionfish anatomy. I've got one on seahorses that I did where the folder's just chock full of stuff like this. But again, you guys probably work in a very similar manner. So anyhow, so this is where I would start. The next thing I would do from this is I would probably throw on a fresh layer. I would probably take my reference. Come on, you. What in the holy hell is happening? Put them in a folder. Take the opacity of the whole thing down. Throw a layer on top. And this, you know, I'm not going to make you guys watch me draw. You guys can draw too. I would probably come in here at this point and start kind of roughing in, you know, my idea for the illustration. And again, you know, this is just going to be my first very rough sweep at this. And my big thing here was getting that mouth open. I can decide, you know, which eye I want. I'll probably come back here and take this one. Start looking at how some of this, and then you know, you can come in and you can start looking at some of this detail close up. Like I've got these little barbs coming off of this supraorbital tentacle, and find out what those are. You know, find out what this is sticking out over the eye. And then, you know, what is this right here? I would come back into where are we at? Let's come back into this one and take a look. Can't tell exactly from this. So again, it's going to take some more research because I can't just draw things based on this photo because I can't see everything I need in this photo. Alright, so it's going to take lots of different photos from different views to give you an idea, and I can't just copy that too because that mouth would be wrong. So I gotta, you know, this is where you have to be an artist. And you gotta do some work, and then kind of pull some of this together. And then what I would have to do is I'd have to go out and look at a side view and figure out what the hell's going on in this skeleton here. What is going on here in the jaw? I can't tell from this picture. All right, but this again, this would be, you know, a great starting place for me to go from here, and it gets some of the basics done for me. If I close this, you know, it doesn't look like much, but there you're kind of starting to see something, just a little bit of how this might go together. All right, so there's that. What's in layer 11? I have no idea what I put there. Get rid of that. And then I went in just a little bit ago and I pulled up this side view. So from this side view, you know, here's where I could go back in and check to try to decide what's going on in that face just a little bit more. I'd probably still need another couple of skeletal photos to figure out the face, to figure out the skull. And if this were for a job, I really would check the price of the skeleton, and if it wasn't more than say like 20-25% of the job, depending on, I mean, how much I was getting for it. If this was under like 60 or 80 bucks, I'd probably buy the thing, just depending on the job. I have other little skeletons around that I've purchased, hand skeletons. Not, they're plastic, they're not real, but to have an actual model that you can seriously work with is a really good thing. And so I thought, well, what if I did a side view? Because maybe I want to do side view instead. And I went in and I would do the exact same thing. And so I thought, well, let's just do one from scratch. Well, that's a little too light. So what if I took this guy? Way too big. That's not bad. The fins aren't sticking up in exactly the same position. These are fairly similar. So say we take that. Let me turn that back up. Let's see what this one is. Oopsie, come here, you. That's just another side view. Transform, flip horizontal. And this one, he's pretty much a side view. Maybe off to the side quarter just a little bit. Let's see. Well, that's pretty good, actually. It's kind of interesting. So it would take some messing about. So that's another possibility. And then what did I find over here? Oh, okay. So in these, that's why I did that. These, the fish has its mouth closed in both of these reference pieces here. And in this one, it's not the right. It's kind of more of a not quite 3/4 view, but kind of a quartering view. But the face seems to be not quite, but almost a side view, but probably enough to work with. So edit, flip horizontal. Let's move him to the top. Just fade him back. Get rid of that guy for a second. That almost works. Right. And then the question is, how do I want to treat this at that point then? You could go a couple different ways. You could do top and bottom. Go back here. You could do top and bottom the other way. That would actually be kind of cool. I think the top ones look neater though. You could show the skull. I did that backwards. That's kind of okay though too. Let's try it this way. Show the skull. There we go. Let's maybe crop it back a little too far. But you get the idea. That's maybe not far enough. But you get the idea. And then it just takes some playing around. Delete layer mask. But if I were going to do this project, and I don't think I have time right now to do it, but this is what I would do. That is a fun view. With the mouth open. I would do that. That would be my piece right there, if I were to do it. So, and again, getting started with the drawing, get a rough sketch in, and then it's just going to take a whole bunch of research. It's just going to take going into all these sites and finding, learning about the anatomy. Let's do this. Let's go check this guy out real quick. Oh, come on. Wow, look at this. Alright. There's a puffer fish. So this looks like this looks like what this not now, go away. Looks like what this person does. See if I can copy that. Copy. Alright, I'm going to pull a new window. Give me 1 second. Let's see. DUI.ng. See if I can find him. Here's Instagram. He's got a Etsy shop. There he is. I don't want to sign in. Go away. There's his Etsy shop. Ah. Alright, this is cool stuff. Let's see how much he charges for this stuff. What were we looking at? Lionfish. I must have sold it. This is what he currently has in stock. So $190, $200, depending on the job and depending on what they needed. I might buy us. Don't buy one for this class, guys. It's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm just saying professionally, depending on the job, I may or may not buy one. But here, so we get a real good look at the skull of this fish, though, and that information might translate to something else. So, seahorse. I used to have a dried seahorse that I found on the beach, but my dog ate it. That creep. Anyhow, stuff you guys don't need to know. Okay. This is a great. This is 3/4 from behind. Now, if you could find this fish in this same pose, an external drawing of a fish 3/4 behind, that would be great. Or this one. So you get the idea. All right. So I hope you guys watched this because I used 30 minutes of my Saturday night talking to you guys about this. So I will see you guys all on Tuesday at the museum. All right, everybody have a great weekend.